Yo, what's up everyone? Happy Friday. This video we're looking at the Week 7 final look. We got a lot of injury news today, which is going to really make a difference on the slate than what we had originally. So let's get into it. As always, you can drop a like down below and subscribe if you haven't already. And you can visit the website, dfsprocess.net, if you want to join us. Links in description. As always, starting off at quarterback here, Deshaun Watson. He's at 7,000. I think it's a lot easier to pay up for him if you want to, with the value that we're going to have in Green Bay. With the receivers, most likely, we'll talk about that. With it looking like Adams is already ruled out, and it's looking pretty unlikely that Allison and Scantling are going to play. So we got some great value in Green Bay. Watson, I like him a lot at 7,000. Like I said, I like this game stack quite a bit, or at least getting some pieces in this game. With him being close to Lamar Jackson, I think I would prefer Watson this week. Jackson's facing a Seattle defense that he's on the road, and Seattle's looked pretty good defensively over the past couple weeks. Don't mind Kyler Murray as well. I like getting running quarterbacks here when I can. They offer more upside, offer rushing upside, rushing touchdown upside. Murray's gotten in the end zone twice. He's had over 200 yards on the grounds through the first 6 weeks. Josh Allen, I like him a lot at 6,500. He doesn't have a good touchdown-interception ratio, but he has a really good matchup against the Dolphins. He has played really well against the Dolphins. Last season, he demolished them. He's at home. They should be able to crush this Miami team, or should be able to at least pile up the yardage. So Allen, I think, is another good play. And then you could go Matt Ryan. I like him. Jared Goff, he sucked last week, but I think you can go back to him in a bounce-back week. Definitely, it's a much better matchup against the Falcons. They have just been getting shredded defensively. And Goff is getting Todd Gurley back, which is going to make his life a lot easier, as teams are probably not going to be able to just rush him, because he is able, without Gurley last week, it seemed like he was getting pressured a lot. But I think with Gurley, he's able to check it down to him, or Gurley's, if he can play at least most of the snaps, he should be able to make an impact here. So I like Goff. And then if you're going cheap, I still like Brissett here, although I think I might be paying up a little bit more at quarterback just because of the value that we have. But I think Brissett's a more than capable option this week. So if I had to narrow it down, it would be Watson. My top 5 would probably be Watson, that I'm considering Watson, Josh Allen, Jared Goff, Matt Ryan, and Jacoby Brissett. Right now I have Jared Goff in there at 62 with my pre-lineup that I made. He fit in there perfectly. I like stacking him with his number one weapon, Cooper Kupp, again this week. And the matchup is just so good. The Falcons have getting shredded on the air and through the air and on the ground. So I think the Rams offense, after being destroyed the last couple weeks, I think they're going to make a statement this week against a very bad defense. At a running back, Saquon Barkley is back this week. It originally didn't look like he was going to play early on this week, but he's been cleared. I think he's a fine play against his Cardinals defense, but you don't need to go there. You can go cheaper with Dalvin Cook at 8,000. David Johnson's now questionable. We'll see what impact he has, but Kamara's been ruled out. I thought the matchup's tough, but I thought if Murray is cheaper, he could be a viable option. But at 5,100, I'm not going to be really interested in him at that price tag. I do like Todd Gurley at 6,400, especially with his backup Brown being doubtful. Gurley should get some looks. And before he missed last week, he was being pretty productive, getting into the end zone 4 times or in a 2-week stretch. Still hasn't gotten over 100 yards yet, but I think the Rams are going to put up a lot of points this week, so I got to like Gurley. But I still like Dalvin Cook here, 8,000, just been really good pretty much all season except for last week, which was a tough matchup. Eagles, one of the best run defenses in the NFL. I think he's going to have a much better week this week against a pretty bad rush defense and against running backs. They've been giving it up all year. He can also catch passes out of the backfield, so you got to like Dalvin Cook at 8,000. Besides him, I love Leonard Fournette at 7,000. Like Gurley a lot. Chris Carson, I like him too. Lots of good options at running back this week. I would say Gordon makes for a GPP play. I like Marlon Mack. And then if you're going cheap, you might be look at Freeman, who's kind of made a resurrection over the past 3 weeks by getting into the end zone through the air. He has no rushing touchdowns all year, which just shows you how often the Falcons throw the ball when they're in the red zone. But that's going to change. he used to be a very good goal line back. He just hasn't really got opportunities this season with how much the Falcons are throwing. But at 5,400 with his involvement in the rushing game and the receiving game, I could see him have a pretty nice week at 5,400, and I think this game is going to be a shootout. The Falcons have been putting up a ton of points. It's just that their defense absolutely blows. Josh Jacobs, also a nice play at 5,000. I don't think that many will go there. And that's kind of it. I don't think you need to go super cheap at running back because we do have some value that we can look at receiver. But right now I'm sticking with what I had originally. Cook and Fournette, I think both are just going to smash, and they get two of the best matchups you could ask for against Cincy and against the Lions. At receiver this week, my favorite receiver to pay up for is, I'm kind of torn between Cooper Kupp or Hopkins. I think I might be Kupp just because he's a little bit cheaper, and Hopkins has been fine over the past couple weeks, but that's not what you want. He hasn't gotten over 20 Draftkings points in 5 straight weeks, but he's still getting targeted heavily against this Colt defense. He's going to break out soon. It could be this week, but I also think Cooper Kupp at 7,400 is going to demolish this week. Had a really bad game, but he still got 6 targets. It wasn't really his fault. It's just they couldn't protect Goff, and Goff only threw for 70 yards. So I would be shocked if that happens this week. I would expect Goff to get back over 300 yards passing. It should be a shootout in this game. I love Cooper Kupp. His price tag is still pretty discounted at 74. Other receivers I like are still like Will Fuller at 62. I love T.Y. Hilton, just so cheap at 5,900. Just way too cheap. I think he's going to have a really good game this week against this Houston defense. With no Sterling Shepard, Golden Tate is fine at 5,800. Robert Woods is also pretty nicely priced. No catches last week, but he did get a rushing touchdown, which is pretty weird. But anyway, he's really cheap at 5,900. If you're not paying for Kupp, you could look at Robert Woods at that price tag. And even though the matchup's tough for Golladay, I think he has the talent to kind of succeed here. He's just a really good receiver. Even though a matchup against Xavier Rhodes isn't ideal, makes for a nice tournament play because I don't think it'll be popular. And then I love John Brown, 5,500 to pair with Josh Allen or just to use as a one-off. And with Allison doubtful and Scantling questionable, it looks like at least Allison is going to miss along with Devontae Adams. So you got to like Lazard at 3,000. He's going to be the cash lock. It's going to be tough to fade in GPPs too with the chemistry that he showed with Rodgers and his pretty much his first targets of the year. He played well with the injuries they're dealing with. They're really banged up. It's also a pretty good matchup here against this Raiders defense. At 3,000, he has the opportunity to kill you if you don't play him in cash at least. And then I'm still sticking with T.Y. Hilton. Just 5,900 is just so appealing for him. Way too cheap. I have a price tag for T.Y. And then I'm going to pay up for Cooper Kupp to pair with Goff. We got some value in Lazard. Originally didn't think I was going to be able to pay up for a receiver, but Kupp fits in perfectly with what I want to do. This week, just get all the upside, all the talent, all the good matchups here. Seems like it's one of those weeks where it's very easy to make a lineup. But then again, things don't always work out how you expect on paper. So there's definitely some leverage I think to be had this week in tournaments because there is going to be some obvious chalk plays, and you can easily pivot to them, to pivot to lower owned guys in tournaments. At tight end this week, my favorite tight end point per dollar wise is going to be Hunter Henry, 4,000. First week, he had 9 targets, 2 touchdowns last week against the Pittsburgh Steelers. We know Rivers used to always love to target him before he got hurt. And with the way the Chargers offense has looked, I wouldn't be shocked if he plays another big role with just how bad the running backs have been. They've been good at catching passes, but they haven't been getting good gains on the ground. So Rivers has been having to throw the ball quite a bit. Jimmy Graham, with all the injuries the Packers are dealing with, could make a nice, like I'm saying, there's opportunities for pivots. He could be a pivot instead of Henry in tournaments, although Henry is obviously the much better play. I could see Jimmy Graham catch a touchdown. Maybe if he can get 2 touchdowns, that would be great, because they do like to target him in the red zone. Won't mind him as a tournament play, but I love Hunter Henry way more than him. Just giving guys options of pivots. And then Austin Hooper has really just been amazing this season. He's probably been one of the best tight ends. As just like averaging 19 fantasy points on the season, getting heavily targeted. Matchup against the Rams defense is really ideal at home. You got to like Hooper if you can get up there. And then don't mind Evan Ingram either. Tight ends against the Cardinals have smashed every week, getting massive amounts of targets with no Shepard again this week. Evan Ingram should be in line for lots of targets. So there are quite a bit of tight ends that stick out. My favorites are Ingram, Hooper, Hunter Henry, and then if you want to pay up for Kittle, you can. Cheaper than that, maybe you could go back to Gerald Everett at $3,700 as another low-owned play. And that's kind of it, what I'm looking at tight end. And then defense, I'm really liking the Bears defense this week at home against the Saints. The Saints are missing their best player, Alvin Kamara. They're missing their tight end and Jared Cook. I think the Bears defense is going to show out. They're also very cheap at only $3,000. So I like the Bears this week. They're probably going to just double team Michael Thomas and make somebody else beat them. And without Kamara, and if Thomas is getting doubled, it's going to be tough for the Saints, I think, to put up points this week. So I love the Bears defense. And then I don't mind. Defense is pretty random at times in special teams. So I don't mind going cheap and just, if you want to pay up for guys and go cheap. But I don't think we need to go super cheap at defense this week. I don't mind the Seattle defense either, even though the matchup's not great against Baltimore. They're at home. They've been forcing some turnovers over the past couple of weeks, and just a matter of time before they can get into the end zone with that. But I like the Bears a lot. If they're paying up a little bit more, I would look at like the Jaguars against the Bengals, and then the best defenses are the 49ers and the Bills. So that's what I'm liking. I'm kind of liking the mid-range at defense. And that's pretty much it for this week. Hopefully you enjoyed the breakdown. If you have any comments or questions, you can leave them in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and good luck this week.